And it says we're live, so I'm going to assume we're live. So thank everybody for coming. We have the esteemed Lauren DeLaguna. Everybody's been yammering at me to have a discussion with her. Uh, if you want to tell us your social media presences before we get started, Miss DeLaguna.
Oh, well, my main one for the YouTube stuff is just YouTube. I don't really have a huge anything else. So just YouTube, Lauren De Laguna, as spelled right there, Lauren, De Laguna, DeLaguna. Thank you
All
for the
right.
opportunity, though.
Well, it's lovely to have you. I've heard a lot about you, but I have never had a chance to meet you until now. So it's lovely to meet you. My name is John Rietveld. I'm an attorney out of California. My understanding is that you are originally from California. Is that correct?
Yeah, I grew up in Orange County, so Southern California, and then I got my undergraduate in Northern California.
Do you mind if I ask you where you got your undergraduate?
Yeah, UC Davis.
I graduated from UC Davis myself, so
Oh, great!
go
What was
Aggies.
your undergrad?
What's that?
What was your undergrad?
English. So how
Oh,
about
very
you?
cool. Math.
Math.
So
Oh wow, wow. So
very
you're one of the
opposite.
smart ones, huh?
Well, I mean, I'm not wonderful at English. I think everybody has their own strengths and weaknesses. And I'm getting better and better at English though with law. I'm reading much faster, I'm writing much better. So that was a benefit of law school.
I only picked English because I already knew how to speak it and read it, so I figured it was the easiest way to go. So, uh, so you are aspiring to be an attorney at this point. Is my understanding correct?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Can you tell me why you chose to be an attorney, and what kind of path has led you to this point?
Well, yeah, as I said, I got my undergrad at UC Davis, and then I went to law school. Well, I took some time off, and I was teaching math and tutoring math at a tutoring company for. Oh, I'm so sorry. I thought that was on silent. At a tutoring company for a long time. I also was a long-term sub. I taught physics at a private school, AP physics, and also like eighth grade physics. So that was easy. And then I
Eighth
just
grade
didn't
physics
want to
is easy,
be
huh?
well compared to what the seniors were doing. Yeah, but
Okay.
especially in my AP class, except for even my regular class, we did the same content as my AP class. They were a smart group of kids. But anyways, I just didn't want to be working with children. I don't think my entire life, as much as I like kids, I think I just wanted more of to be working with adults. So I started clerking at a law firm, and I really enjoyed helping the plaintiffs that we were helping. I worked on the one of the largest mass tort cases in the country, and I think the largest dental case in United States history. We had 200 plaintiffs, and I think we helped them, and we did. There was a settlement in the end, and so I'm happy that they got the justice that they were looking for.
So so your end goal when you become a lawyer, when you finally get that Esquire after your name, what kind of law do you intend to practice, or general, or what do you intend to do?
Yeah, that's a good question. So I went into law school, I think, because COVID hit and I was a law clerk anyway. So I was like, oh, maybe this will be the profession for me. And then once I was in law school, I started contemplating that because I'd get that question a lot. And I thought patent law because my math background. Um, However, I would still have to take not only the patent exit bar, I would also have to take um, a like a STEM competency exam because pure mathematics is not a degree which they consider STEM enough. I don't know
Right.
how, but um, so I decided I think I just wanted to do public defense work for a little bit, and so I started working at a public defender's office just to see what that would be like. And right after I graduated, and I loved it. I really liked helping people, especially people who maybe were more difficult or we're on the edge of maybe not having an attorney, and I'd like to just help people that uh, might be hard to help themselves. Those were the people that I enjoyed helping the most, like the soft SIDS and those types of people.
Okay,
So
so you don't buy into the soft sit mantra. You just your goal is to help these people to kind of steer them in the correct direction, correct?
yes, and I think a lot of what it is they learn. It's funny when you're in law school. One of the first things you learn is never stop at the end of the sentence, read the full paragraph. In order to understand the statute. And these people will take 3 words out of a sentence and come up with a conclusion as to what that entire statute means. And so, um, I don't think that they're dumb people. I think that they're just being manipulated. And I think that a lot of their ideas about freedom is on point. For instance, a lot of them were rallying against the COVID laws. And I also was rallying against the COVID laws and the overreach of government. I also don't like an overreach of government. So a lot of what they stand for, I agree with, but the way that they go about it, I disagree with.
Who do you think is manipulating or controlling them?
Oh my gosh, I that's the thing, like, it just seems as if sometimes 1 or 2 of them have read all of the same text, and then they get kind of like a cult following from that. Like, for instance, he's gonna hate that I mentioned him, that Paul and Slaves guy. Seems like he's read all the stuff, and then he's like gotten his sound bites, his like 10 or 15 catchphrases that he says over and over again, kind of like a cult leader. And he does have things memorized, and he like knows where to go, but then when you really try to hold him to it and you try to look at what the documents are actually saying, they don't say what he thinks they say. So is he purposely indoctrinating people? I don't think so. I think he believes everything he's saying. um is he too lazy to understand? Is he too arrogant to listen? I don't know what the problem is, but it's a mixture of these problems. I don't know where the top of this is. I don't know. It's an odd situation. I'm still researching it.
Okay. So when you were working with it, you said you were working with the public defender's office, is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay. Were you actually representing clients or were you
I
just
was.
okay?
Yeah, I was doing the limited license in Arizona. So in Massachusetts, it's 303. In Arizona, it's, I believe, 39C4. I think that's what it is.
Okay. Um, so you were doing that with another attorney kind of supervising you, kind of at your
Yeah.
shoulder, or were you actually throwing out there on your own?
So you have to do it in a governmental office. So you could only do one of these forms. You have to have permission from your dean. You also have to have permission from your supervisor, and you can only do it in like a public defender's office or a district attorney's office.
Right. So you didn't actually go to court. You just did the like the motions and stuff in the office.
No, I actually would go to court, and yeah, I'd have like an attorney sit next to me or sit behind me or whatever. And sometimes I would go to the table by myself. Actually, frequently I'd sit at the table with just the client, and the attorney would be at a different table, and it was really fun. And I would represent them and the clients. If I got a couple cases dismissed, and clients would
Nice.
run up and hug me, and because they know that I did like not only all the footwork on it, but also um, going to court for them. And even when I wasn't the attorney representing them, a lot of the times when the attorney I was working for who was speaking in front of the court, the client would still hug me because they're like, "You're the girl I spoke to on the phone. You're the girl who knew everything." So yeah, it was a great feeling to help people. Yeah.
Did they let you do any trials?
Well, actually, none of my clients ever really wanted to go to trial. We started a couple, but then they would always plead out.
Yeah, it's pretty common for the clients to want to plead out.
Yeah.
Have you ever represented an innocent client?
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yes.
what what do you think the rough percentage is of clients that you had that were innocent versus guilty? And I'm not talking about not guilty clients. I'm actually talking about innocent clients.
No, I understand. I don't really know if I think there's a lot of gray area. There's gray area in law you could have. So even if I were to find a client innocent or think a client is innocent, someone else may not. For instance, one case that I had, when I read the file before speaking to the client, I was like, she's going away. She's going away for a while. I can't think of, I have to speak to this woman because I'm struggling to think of a reason why this would happen. She was accused of stabbing her child. And so I spoke to her, and afterwards I was like, that's a self-defense claim if I ever heard one. And so hearing how the prosecution doesn't see self-defense at all, and then seeing her side, just two very different sides of the exact same story, it's hard to say. It's a big gray area. I would obviously, most of my clients, it was things that, yeah, okay, the drugs were on me, but let's get that suppressed, you know?
Right.
Okay, so yeah, that's most of it. I'd say like over 60%, but then
That's
there's
a
a lot
pretty
of,
low number.
I would say like 20% would be gray. And then I don't know.
Okay. So right now, my understanding is that your legal career is on hold. Is that
Yeah.
an accurate statement?
Yeah. Well, it's a somewhat accurate statement. I took the bar in Arizona. I had my score embargoed. The Arizona bar has not contacted me yet to tell me why my score is embargoed. Usually you get a letter saying you failed and like this is your score. And I was anticipating that because my name was not on the pass list. But instead I got a different letter. So I'm just waiting for them to say what happened. Um, I have an idea as to what I think happened, and if it is what I think it is, then I think it will get resolved, and I don't think it will be a major issue. But at the same time, while I'm waiting, I can't wait on the Arizona bar forever. So I'm going to take the Florida bar, and I'm really
Okay.
excited. And I start studying for it next week.
Okay.
I started doing a couple of practice questions today, and then I am going to do a YouTube series on that. And I think that'll be fun for studying for the bar. Yeah.
Uh, so so in California, and I don't know anything about Arizona, but in California, there's three basic things you have to do to pass the bar. You have to pass the actual bar exam itself, the
Mm-hmm.
test. You have to pass a background, a character, moral
Character.
turpitude
Yes.
background, whatever. And then you have to pass the multi-state professional responsibility exam.
Yeah, I passed that with flying colors. That was
Okay.
easy.
So
Yeah.
have you passed the background check?
So they don't tell you that until after you get your score back.
Oh, okay.
So I wouldn't know. um, but I'll probably find that out in Florida relatively soon. Hopefully, I don't know. Actually, probably in about 4 months. I just submit the paperwork yesterday. So
And this is, are they going to do their bar exam in February?
yeah,
Okay. So you should be finding out sometime around March or April if you've passed.
it takes 2 months actually.
So
So
April.
probably May-ish.
Okay. And so you said that you had a rough idea of what you think it might be. Obviously, you don't know what it is. Uh,
Yeah.
did you want to tell us what you think it might be?
Essentially, I had a wallet and my phone, and I knew that this wasn't allowed in the exam room. So I spoke to a proctor and a security guard, and I said, "Hey, if I put my phone, like behind this trash can, not in the exam room, but in the room like before you go through security, would this be an issue?" And they said, "No, that wouldn't be an issue. We can't, guarantee its safety, but it won't be an issue." So I went in through security without my phone and my wallet, and I went to take the exam, and a proctor found it, and then she came to speak to me about it, and we just kind of had a disagreement about it, and I took my wallet and my phone back to my hotel, and then I came back in time to take the exam, and then I later spoke to her again, and I was informed that there was a complaint filed because of that. So I think that's what this has to do with. But if that's the case, like, I just hope that this can all get resolved, and I think it will.
I'm a, I'm not a smart man, so I have stupid questions. It's my mom hated me for this. Why would you put your wallet and your phone behind a garbage can?
You mean like instead of just out in the open?
No, why didn't
Like,
you were
why didn't I leave it in the hotel in the first place?
so my understanding is that you had enough time to go back and drop it off at the hotel and get back before the test started. So why didn't you just leave it at the hotel?
Yeah, because I had like a 40-minute window to bring my wallet back to my hotel and then get there in time to take the exam. The reason that I brought my wallet in the first place is because I knew you only had about 30 minutes to go get lunch. So I wouldn't have had time to go to the hotel, get my wallet, purchase lunch, eat lunch, go back to the hotel, put my wallet away, and then go back to the exam. So I wanted to just have my wallet there to just go get lunch and then go back to the exam.
So more stupid questions because again, I'm dumb. The prohibition was you having the phone and the wallet in the exam room, right?
Yeah, that was my understanding, and I think that was the first proctor that I spoke to understanding. But then the next proctor that found the phone and exam and wallet clearly disagreed with that understanding.
Huh. Okay. So when I had to take the bar exam, they were they were really super strict, and
Mhm.
you couldn't take anything in their wallet or anything like. You had to have you could have a clear plastic bag,
Yeah,
and in that clear plastic bag, on the days where you were doing the multiple choice, you could only have pencils and not a mechanical pencil, just regular pencils. I don't even think you could have a separate eraser. You could only have a analog watch. I mean, they were super strict. So, what were other people doing? Well, first, let me take a step back. Uh, how many days was the bar exam in Arizona?
so it was two. We had this similar rules. We weren't allowed pencils. Actually, they provided pencils for us, and then we had to throw the pencils away. Um, So we had the clear bag, the analog watch, and our ID. I think there was something else we could bring. Um, but yeah, there's another person that I know of who did the same thing I did, and then her stuff was stolen. So she didn't get in trouble, but she had a different negative outcome. So you know, and
So,
then most people, and then if you went to ASU, they provided lunch for you. And so like a lot of the kids there went to ASU because it was in Arizona. Um, and then a lot of other kids went hungry. It was an issue. It was actually, I thought it was, I don't want to rag on anyone, but I just thought that was kind of not poor, or I kind of thought that was poor planning in terms of allowing the kids to get food.
the bar exam was done on the ASU campus. Is that what you're saying?
It was right near the ASU campus, but it wasn't on the ASU campus.
Okay. And the kids from ASU were provided lunch on the ASU campus?
I believe. I don't know if it was. I don't know how they received it because I'm not an ASU student. But yeah, they all had these like styrofoam, things with like a sandwich and fruit and stuff for them to eat. Yeah.
Okay. So, um, I have more stupid questions. If the Arizona case isn't resolved, do you have any knowledge of how Florida would handle the allegation if it hasn't been resolved yet?
Well, I mean, the most I could do was hope that they let Arizona do their own separate investigation and trust that Arizona does a separate investigation and allow me to take their exam and, you know, apply for their character and fitness. And hopefully they let me sit. And yeah, and I would love to live in Florida. I love Ron DeSantis. So
Okay. So, let's. I think we've explored that enough. Let's talk about Chili. How did you meet Chili?
Yeah, so it's kind of so I became friends with Aiden Kearney, or Turtle Boy, as he's known as, um, because I was in law school and I had an issue with Rachel Rollins when she came to my school.
I'm
I
sorry,
got
with who?
She was the district attorney for Suffolk County, and then she got promoted to state attorney. And when I was there, she had she had tweeted some pretty racially charged tweets about white fragility and how white people are bad in a sense. And so when she came to my class, I was like, "Can you explain why you would tweet such, something like this?" And she kind of
She
doubled
came
down.
to she came to your class. What? We're
Yeah.
missing some context. So she went to Arizona, or
Well, I
where were
was
you in
in
class?
Boston. I went to school in Massachusetts, in Suffolk.
What? So you graduate. So law
Grad.
school.
So first, I went to the Air Force Academy in Colorado Springs, and then
Okay.
I went to UC Davis, and I got my math degree, and then I went to Suffolk Law School in Boston,
Okay.
Massachusetts. And while I was in Boston, one of my professors had graduated from law school with Rachel Rollins, and he was still friends with her. So he invited her to come speak at the class. And I had asked her about her tweets. And I just thought she was rude. I thought she was rude. And so I just really disliked her after that. So when I went to find information about her, it seems like the only journalist who was covering it at all was Turtle Boy. Um, and then I started watching a show and I really liked him. And I became friends with Katie Lawson. So that's the woman who Rachel Rollins got in a road rage incident with a woman, and it became somewhat, I don't know if it was just East Coast news, but it was definitely news. And so she went on Turtle Boy, and I somewhat became friends with her. And then I started becoming friends with Aiden. And I went on his show, and then when I went on his show, that's when I went on his show because I went to a couple of his court cases, and then I did like legal analysis on it as like a law student. They called me Law School Lauren at the time.
Okay.
And then Kate made a couple of videos trashing me and saying that I had a failed life and a failed career and that my family hated me. And
Okay.
okay. And then I started watching kind of what she was about, and everything she posted was about Chili, like 100%. Unless it was about me, it was about Chili. So I was like, not me. She didn't talk about me that often, but she talked about Aiden a lot. And then so I decided to reach out to him. I thought it would be fun to start my YouTube channel. I didn't want to start with Aiden, my first interview with Aiden, because I was already friends with him too much. So I was like, oh, I'll reach out to someone new. And so I reached out to him, and he was willing to do an in-person interview. And I wanted all of my interviews to be in person, and that has not happened. So after him, they've all been virtual. But so I thought that was really fun. I was like, oh, it's going to be all in person. These are going to be really cool interviews. And so, I sat down and I had an interview with him, and it was really great. That it was very nice of him to come all of that way just to help me build my stupid little YouTube channel, and it was fun. Yeah. So
So you didn't like research anything on Kate ahead of time. You just looked at her legal cases. Is that my
I didn't
understanding of
even
that?
look at her legal cases. I just looked at her, like, I scrolled through a few of her videos on YouTube, and
Okay.
all of the thumbnails were Chili. Like, almost all of them were Chili. So I was like, who is this Chili person? Why? And then I did some research on him, and so many people were talking about him. And then I watched him, and I was like, I think that he is misunderstood. And I understand misunderstood people. So, yeah, I mean, I've been a tutor a really long time. I think I was good at that because I understand people who are hard to understand. But
So I want to get back a little bit to this. You said you were giving him you were giving Aiden legal analysis on Kate's lawsuits. Is that
Yeah,
correct?
so I can't give legal advice, right? Because I wasn't an
Right.
attorney, so I couldn't like I wasn't practicing law, and I made it super clear that I'm in
I
law
said
school.
analysis. I said
Okay, all
analysis,
right.
not
I want to
advice.
double, triple, quadruple,
Okay.
but so yeah, I just wanted to watch and see what happened and see the legal process at work in the pro per community. And that was very enlightening. I thought that was extremely enlightening because as an attorney, or not an attorney, but as someone who works in like the legal field, you really only see, or you typically only see the attorneys battling it out with each other unless you do, I don't know, a lot of small claims civil suits, or maybe if you're a prosecutor. But so I thought it would be very interesting, and it was very interesting. Watching two pro per people go at it was great. That's awesome.
So was this was a HPO, correct? That he was getting?
Oh, I think, I don't know if he saw 3 or 4 cases that day. He was getting sued by, they called it the storm. So a bunch of people got together, sued him at the same time, and purposely attempted to set the court dates on the same day and were successful. And so he had this horrific court day. And so I was like, yeah, I'll join you for that. That sounds miserable. I'll join you for it. So we went around, and uh, it's all against people he blogged about. So these people are all claiming defamation, or all claim that was basically, or harassment. Um, and the judge in every case was, First Amendment. I'm sorry. Like, how is this
Right.
not First Amendment protected?
Right.
So
So
yeah.
so he Aiden was doing basically blogging, video blogging about other people. They sued him for First Amendment stuff. Had nothing to do with Kate, correct?
He also blogs. If you don't know who Aiden Kearney is, he's actually a pretty influential blogger. Andy No uses him all the time. Tucker Carlson covers his stories a lot. Katie Lawson ended up being interviewed by Tucker Carlson after Turtle Boy. So I mean, he does actual written blogs, and then he also does like a video blog, I suppose you could call it a vlog.
So, but my question was more, so he's getting sued by people for defamation for
Mm-hmm.
reporting on them.
Mm-hmm.
Is that a fair assessment of what was happening?
Yeah, it's a really fair assessment.
Was Kate reporting on him, or was he reporting on Kate? I should say, was he reporting on Kate?
Yeah, he was
Okay.
reporting, and Kate was reporting on him.
Did
He,
she sue him for for defamation or anything like that?
I don't believe so. I don't know if they ever had. I know him and Brett had something, and then like Brett filed something against him, and then he filed something against Brett, and they the judge dropped both of them. I don't think there was ever anything again between him and Kate. There was something between him, or like a girl that he is friends with. However, did file a harassment prevention order against Kate and was successful in obtaining the harassment prevention order.
Was it a harassment prevention order after hearing, or just the temporary one up to hearing, or
Uh,
if you know?
she received the temporary one first, and then she had a hearing, and then she received a permanent one after that. Well,
Oh,
up to a year.
okay, so you weren't. I'm just kind of circling back because I get things stuck in my head. You said you had said something about doing you were watching Kate's videos and she was making videos about you
She only
and
made
Chili.
one. She only made one. I think I exaggerated a little bit there. She made one
Okay.
video about me, but it had me in the thumbnail. That was the first time that ever happened to me. I didn't have a YouTube channel. I had only been on Aiden's channel once, and I thought that was like the biggest deal ever. And so then to see like my name, and then I click on it, and it's all this really negative stuff, and trying to say that I failed at math, and that's why I had to become an attorney. Yeah,
Yep.
that's
Did
that's how
the
that works.
important question though, was it a good thumbnail or was it a bad hair day thumbnail?
No, my hair looked good.
Okay.
It was back when I was trying to be. Oh, I'm trying to remember what thumbnail she used. I can't recall. The thumbnail that comes to mind comes from a different video that she made. Now she's made a few videos, um, and one of the thumbnails that comes to mind is a little bit cringe. But back in my attempted acting days.
So, in your estimation, Turtle Boy Aiden was covered by the First Amendment in his reporting on these other
Yeah.
people. Is it your best understanding? Obviously, you can't give legal advice. I'm just asking your analysis that Kate is also protected by the First Amendment on the things that she said about Chili.
Ooh, about Chile. You're not talking about the harassment prevention order that she lost against? It,
She lost against Chili on a harassment
Not
prevention
Chile,
order.
Aiden's friend.
I'm asking specifically about Chili, her reporting on Chili. Do you think that he has a valid claim for defamation against her based on the First Amendment and your analysis thereof?
I think when you look at the surface things that she posts, not really. But then when you look at the Discord stuff that she posts, I'm not in it because she blocked me, but there's people who like sit in it and read everything in it and take pictures and stuff. And um, I think some of that may rise to the level of harassment, which is what got her in trouble with the HPO order against Turtle Boy's girlfriend. So I'd probably file harassment over defamation. Um, I need to look. I Defamation's so much harder. I wouldn't even file a defamation suit. I haven't even I understand where he's coming from, but honestly, I think harassment prevention order would be the way. Like, if he were to hire an attorney, I think that's what they would say.
Do you think the two harassment prevention orders that he's already filed and lost against her, do you think those would have any implication on his ability to win a future harassment prevention order?
I don't know if it would, but I believe that it should. Now, obviously, I like Chili more than I like Kate. Not that I like either of them. However, and so that's where my bias lies for anyone who's watching. Um, However, I think that being able to repeatedly file a lawsuit is BS, and I experienced that with Turtle Boy when I went to go visit him when I went to go watch his court cases. One of the cases was just like the 12th filing of the exact same thing. And so, yeah, I think there should be a limit on repeated filings, just like there's a limit on the state. They can't do double jeopardy. So, I don't know. It's different. State has a higher burden, and I get that, but
So you did legal analysis on Turtle Boy's lawsuits, but you haven't. I just I had heard that you had worked with Chili on perhaps this lawsuit, or he'd made
like
some video where he was suggesting that you weren't pulling your weight or that you wouldn't. I don't really know. So
this is what I
help me
told
out.
him every time he asked me for legal advice. I said, "Hi, I'm Lauren. I'm a law school graduate. I'm not an attorney. My only legal advice that I'm going to give to you is to hire an attorney." And so he hated that answer, and I'd give him that answer every time. And so he was saying that I was wimping out, that I wasn't trying to help him, and honestly, if I were licensed, I'd help him. I'd help him for free, and I'd give him legal advice, and I would try to steer him in the right direction. But I'm worried for my own bar's sake. Like, I just want to be an attorney so bad. I've put so much into this. So I'm just walking on eggshells until I get there, and I don't think he has an appreciation that he thinks that I don't care about him, or I'm not trying to help him, or I'm coming up with an excuses or something. But he doesn't see how important this is to me, especially as a citizen. He thinks like the black robes. Like, why would you want to be with a bunch of people who are making it? Who are just a bunch of rural people? And I get that to a certain extent, but I'm trying to make a positive change in this world. I think everybody is, and including him, but this is the way that I think that I'll do it. So this is the way that I see best for me to do that.
What is your opinion about the Terry v. Ohio ruling, if you have one?
Like in terms of should it be overturned?
It's up
Um,
to you. It's a very open-ended question. Interpret it as you will.
right. So if you look at the facts of the case, the one of the defendants was running to the other defendant, looking in through the window, running back to the defendant, like being like definition textbook sneaky suspicious. People claim that the officer made it up, but those are the facts at hand that in the case. So whether or not the officer is making it up, that was the facts that we rely on. And based on that, no, I think that the officer should be allowed to prevent a crime from happening based off articulable reasonable suspicion, as opposed to having to wait for probable cause.
So another stupid question is, what about, let's say a young man is standing at the corner of a building with an opaque bag in his hand. The police roll into the area. He sees the police. The police see him see the police.
And then
And
he
then he
dashed.
starts running. And let's just say that it is known that this is a high crime area. There's a lot of
This
drug
is
use
already
in
the
the area.
case. This is like a well-known case.
I know it's a well-known case.
So I mean, I side with the court. I would uphold the decision of that court. I mean,
So
if I,
you're a
I
fan of reasonable suspicion. That's what I'm getting.
I mean, I would like it if you couldn't be charged until after you commit the crime. But then conspiracy wouldn't be a crime, and many, call it, I can't pronounce that word, but you know what I'm trying to say. Crimes would not be crimes, and attempted would
Inchoate.
not, thank you, would not be crimes. And it is because we need to protect the safety of our citizens. And I think that we have attempted to do the best balancing test that we possibly could so that you can't be guilty until proven beyond a reasonable doubt. And all the burden is on the state. So we've already give every benefit to the defendant. I don't think there's anything wrong with saying, okay, we're allowed to stop you under reasonable suspicion.
So why would you
Are you
suggest that you
against
can get
reasonable suspicion? Just out of curiosity.
pardon me?
What's your stance on this?
Oh, I don't like the reasonable suspicion standard at all. I think it's shit. But anyway,
What would you do instead?
probable cause
Every time you would
every
really.
time.
So then in Terry, based off the facts at hand, the officer wouldn't have had the ability to stop it. And
Right.
he would have just had to have watched the crime and then hopefully catch up to the criminals later.
So you think that the officer would have to watch the crime being committed?
Or attempt to stop them mid-crime, but I can't imagine that would be a very long crime. You just break the glass, take the stuff, and go. It would be very quick. So you'd have to catch them mid-crime or fleeing the crime. Being able to, as they're acting suspicious, I see where you're coming from, and I see how it would, why people think it's violating the Fourth Amendment, because why does the government have a right to stop you just because you look suspicious and look through your stuff? You haven't done anything legal. It's legal to look suspicious. And I understand where you're coming from, but I think crime is already skyrocketing. We give defendants the utmost chances and the utmost leniency, and I don't think there's too much invasion by allowing for a probable cause standard.
So do you think you could be charged with reasonable suspicion?
No.
So reasonable suspicion doesn't increase the odds of someone being charged, correct?
Correct.
You
But I
can't be
don't think that's
arrested for a reasonable
reasonable.
suspicion, right?
But you can have a Terry stop under reasonable suspicion, and that
Right.
can lead to probable cause, which can lead to your arrest,
Right.
which is usually the case.
But if you haven't done anything, if you remember in Terry, the Terry himself, he was arrested for carrying a firearm. It was a firearm issue. It wasn't that he was acting suspicious. He had committed a crime.
he had committed a crime, but they wouldn't have determined that if he had not been acting suspicious, which is what led to the Terry stop in the first place.
Right. So if he hadn't committed a crime, he wouldn't be arrested, correct?
Yes,
Okay.
but based off if he had acted the exact same way and the cop had stopped, this cop would have been allowed to stop him, do a search of him, and if he had not had the gun, then the cop would have had to just let him go. So
So
I don't see
if he hadn't committed a crime, he wouldn't be arrested, correct?
correct.
So do you think that you can't be arrested for conspiracy to commit crimes?
No, I'm okay. That's what, but that is a crime. A conspiracy to commit a crime is a crime.
It
So
is. And
yeah, can
is
be arrested
attempt
for that. Yeah.
is attempted armed robbery a crime?
Yes.
So does the officer have to wait for them to complete the armed robbery to make an arrest for conspiracy or attempt?
No.
Okay. Um, so if we had the probable cause standard, he wouldn't have to wait for the crime to have been completed. He for the specific crime of armed robbery to be completed, he could have stepped in at any time for conspiracy or attempt. Correct?
On the facts at hand, the officer wouldn't have had any of the knowledge of the conspiracy. The only thing that he would have had at that point would be articulable reasonable suspicion. He wouldn't have had probable cause for the conspiracy, so he would have had to have wait for the crime to have started in order to give him the probable cause. I mean, maybe if he had known these people and gotten some intel about the conspiracy prior to, then he would have been able to arrest them. Sure.
Or he could have just waited until just hung out and watched them. Would they? Do you think they would have started the armed robbery with him sitting there staring at him?
He was sitting there and staring at them. He was sitting there staring at them, and it appeared that they did not see him. So, are you saying that he should have just walked into view of the crime?
Why not? Wouldn't that have stopped the crime?
Well, the conspiracy was already committed, right? So
But they weren't
he
charged with conspiracy, were they?
because they had completed the attempt.
No, it's because that Terry was charged with the
With
firearm
okay, well,
issue.
that's just prosecutorial discretion.
Okay.
I suppose that the prosecutor could have charged them with more.
People were asking me to ask you legal questions. So now I have done the duty that was imposed upon me by my audience to ask legal questions. So we'll let the bar examiners figure out whether or not you passed that particular exam.
I hope so.
So, so Chile, you called
Oh,
Chile a sovcit. Do you believe he is
anybody-
a sovereign citizen?
oh, do I believe Chile is a sovereign citizen? I believe Chile believes, because I've spoken to him many times, that he is his own unique person and that he doesn't follow anything. However, when you listen to him speak, a lot of his ideas come from sovereign citizens, from him listening to other people. And then, oh gosh, he's going to hate me for telling you this, but one time he called me and he was like, Lauren, you're going to be so proud of me. And I'm like, why, Chili? He goes, I hired an attorney. And I was like, wow, that's great. I really, and I spent like the next 5 minutes telling him how proud I am of him. And I was like, who is he? He's like, oh, I'm not going to tell you. I was like, well, where did you graduate law school? Well, it's an unaccredited law school, and he's like an attorney in the sense that he calls himself. Like, it was just some sovereign citizen guy who like refers to himself as some legal scholar and some law school professor because he teaches at some sovereign citizen law school. And I'm like, no, don't trust these people. Like, if you were going to sovereign citizen court, you should go to Paul for advice. If there was a court held by these people, he would be the guy to go to for advice. But unfortunately for Paul and the rest of the Sovsits, courts are ran by attorneys. And so it's best to get an attorney's advice. Just saying.
What do you think if you were going to give Chile one piece of advice to achieve his overarching goal of overturning Terry v. Ohio? What would that piece of advice be?
Oh, I thought I was going to say hire an attorney, but for overturning Terry v. Ohio. Well, I suppose I would consult with an attorney to try to understand.
You are the attorney. In this hypothetical, you're the attorney. So
okay, so what is I would write a memo explaining why I believe Terry v. Ohio is unconstitutional, and I would maybe write I would write something that makes it easy for someone in the legislature to petition this law and to make it easy for someone who has the power to turn it over to at least start that process. Because if you want to get Terry v. Ohio overturned, you have to go through the Supreme Court. I mean, you really need a case for that. So you have to be. I mean, there's a lot of cases for that. So yeah, basically start making something that makes it easy for an attorney to take it that far. Maybe look for people in the community who are going through a court case in which they were stopped on Terry and who would be willing to face jail time in order to attempt to overturn Terry, because really the only way that you can get to the Supreme Court is to continue making the arguments that don't usually win in order to fight it all the way there. So did that make sense?
it made sense. I'm just kind of so you think that if you got to the Supreme Court, you would have an argument of sufficient weight and credibility that you could convince the Supreme Court that Terry v. Ohio is bad law.
So once again, that's not my position.
You're his attorney at this point. So I'm asking you, if you were his attorney, what advice would you give him? How are you going to assist him in overturning?
I would really delve into the constitutional law prior to Terry v. Ohio and really look at how the Fourth Amendment was meant to be or interpreted prior to Terry, and see if there is a strong consensus that the government had no right to do these stops or to invade your personal property, and see if I would look into it. I'd have to do a lot of legal research. And as all attorneys do, which is why they charge money, they would do legal research. And that's what I would do. Step one, legal research on this.
Okay. Last question, I guess. And I'm going to ask you to forgive me for it, but you are not a beloved figure, at least as far as I can tell, judging from what's going on in my comment section, judging from everybody trying to color my opinion of you before this, judging by the reception you received in my Discord, and I apologize about that again, and judging by the one live stream I've seen you on, Clash with Bao, where it was you against 3 other ladies who hate your guts, apparently. Have you done anything to anybody besides say hurty words on the internet?
No, I make it a really clear point, not only if I say hurty words to not be defamatory, but I also make a very, I make a point to not take anything to real life. I think that's disgusting. Like, people have called my work, have tried to make bar complaints against me. Like, people have, I've never called anyone at work. I've never called anyone's family members. I haven't even made a video about anyone. All I do are interviews with people. I don't do, I don't people dislike me because I went on Turtle Boy and he's a really controversial person. So then a lot of people who hated him really started disliking me. And then I interviewed Chili, and people who hate Chili really started disliking me. And then, and so I don't know. It just kind of spiraled out of control. A lot of people dislike me because other people dislike me, or they think that I like someone that they dislike. And it's really sad. And then also when people make fun of me, I make fun of them back. And so that makes people not like me very much. But say love you. That's fine. You don't have to like me. Not everybody has to like me.
So
I like
are
you. I
are
hope you like me.
I I refuse to state my opinion on anybody during the interview. So I
Yeah.
I never have, I never will. You could look at other interviews I've done with people, and I don't do it. Um, I don't want to color my audience or you by stating a position on this. So you could draw from that what you will. Um, so one thing the side chat keeps popping up is something about Kate's kids. Did you research Kate's kids?
No, so it's pretty publicly known that she lost two kids to the state. And so she like will call someone a bad mom and it's like, Kate, come on.
Where
You lost two kids to the state.
okay, again, I'm not smart, and you say it's publicly
Mhm.
known. Where would I go to find this?
Um, well, so I understand some people don't trust the Turtle Boy blog, right?
Okay,
But he would be the only reporter who would report on such a thing. And then you can look through the evidence that he provides on the blog and you can determine whether or not you find that evidence to have any veracity. Just like any court of law, the jurors get to determine the weight of the evidence. And looking at the evidence and also like really trying to pick it apart and like really grilling him on it, I have concluded that it is
okay.
very true.
So your source is Turtle Boy.
Yeah,
Fair. Okay,
yeah,
and
fair.
he's presented documents to you.
Yes. And
Okay,
like it will more than that. And also like I'm also his friend, so I've seen some behind the scenes stuff. But yes, I know for a fact that everything is very legit.
so it's a fact. I know you try to avoid defamation, and
Mhm.
I want to give you the opportunity to
It is
clarify this.
fact that Kate Peter had four children. At one point, all four children were taken. At one point, two of them were given back. Two of them now live with another family.
Okay,
That is, I don't speak, that is not defamation.
okay.
That is the truth. I feel bad for her. I hope that and honestly, it seems like she's doing really well right now. Her YouTube is doing really well. Like, she gets so many people watching her channel. It's actually really impressive. And they're all like, when you watch her channel, all of her fans are such big fans of hers. It's quite impressive. She asked for legal like funds and people donate. I think she received 35K. I mean,
Hmm.
people love her. So, um, good for her. And it sounds like I spoke to somebody who said that her house is really clean. According to the DCF stuff, her house was like pretty
I'm sorry,
dirty.
I'm not familiar with that term. What's a DCF?
Department of Child Family.
That's something out of Massachusetts. It's a Massachusetts agency,
Yeah. Hmm.
and they've shown you the reports.
So I have seen the reports.
Because I can only talk about California, and
Yeah.
I've dealt with a few child custody cases that had dependency proceedings going on, and I I've seen some. We call it. I just went blank. I'm sorry. What were we talking about?
You were
I'm
talking about California. You've seen like the Child and Family Services reports, and I'm assuming where you're going with this is that usually that it's censored and only certain parties are able to see it, maybe only certain attorneys.
I'm
But
getting dive bombed with mosquitoes, so I'm gonna have to wrap this up soon. But all of that stuff is like incredibly confidential. I know it. I live out in the
yeah,
country, and these
but
things are
on
the size of like B-52 bombers. So
no,
before I die,
I'm aware that it's confidential. However, as a journalist, Turtle Boy gets stuff sometimes of which is confidential, and I verified it because I wanted to see for my own eyes, and so I did. And because I'm friends with him, which if if he just posted everything, then that would expose his sources as well.
right?
So he exposed his source to me because I'm not trying to like go after him, right? But yeah, no, I double, triple, yeah, that stuff's real. And so it sounds like her house was really messy and she wasn't taking care of the kids and she was struggling with other stuff. And it sounds like she's really turned her life around. Sounds like I've spoke to somebody in the YouTubeverse who said that her house is really clean. I know from what I heard, she's not struggling with substance abuse. She has her 2 kids. Sounds like they're doing fine. So yeah, I like to poke a little bit of trolling at her because she, trolls everybody and has trolled me before I defended myself. She stopped ever since I started trolling her. But yeah,
Sorry.
so no, you look. Yeah, that's exactly what I would have done. I hate mosquitoes. I would, as soon as the first one came near me, I would have been like, "This is ending. Bye, Lauren." Oh
We're
my god, I
we're
hate
we're
mosquitoes.
ending very soon. So
Okay.
you've seen the document, so you don't believe it's defamatory. Last question, because I'm going to say that you're going to be an attorney someday, right?
Oh, thank you.
I'm going to say that just right. You're going to be an attorney. So would you be able to defend Kate Peter?
Yeah, I mean, I don't dislike. I don't think I dislike her to the point where we would have like an irrecoverable communication. The only people I think that I wouldn't be able to defend would be someone who, um, maybe like a sovereign citizen who will not listen to the law at all, or somebody who wants me to lie on their behalf. Like that's really the only time. Anyone who needs a defense deserves a defense. So yeah, I would have no problem with that.
Well, I thank you for giving me the answers and talking openly with me. Um,
Thank you. When
it
are you
was
coming on my
lovely.
channel?
What's that?
Would you be able to come on my channel sometime? I
Oh
was
yeah,
thinking.
absolutely. Just when it's not getting dusk and I'm not getting eaten up. This was
All
poorly planned. We have family stuff going on inside, so in order to have a bit of quiet, I had to come out here. So
Why not do the car? You're always in the car.
I get enough grief about the car. But anyway, it was lovely having you. I appreciate you coming out. I'm glad that I could disappoint all the people who watch thinking that I was going to rip you a new asshole. I don't do these. Everybody gets to figure out for themselves whether or not they believe you, whether or not you're a credible person, and um, I hope I gave everybody a bit of an idea of where you came from and why you're doing what you're doing, and your stance on the issues with Kate Peter and her kids. You've clarified that for me, so I appreciate that. And yeah, I thought it was a good interview. I appreciate having you.
Thank you.
All
I'll
right,
talk to you again soon.
all
Okay,
right.
get away from
You
the
have a
mosquitoes.
you have a great
Bye.
day. Bye bye.